America in the 1940s was a black and white world. World War II was raging. And in the words of Stephen Ambrose, the world's greatest democracy fought the world's greatest racist with a segregated army. Even though African Americans fought to defeat oppression abroad, they returned home to be treated as second-class citizens. And even though their music in the form of jazz, swing, and early rock and roll sustained both black and white troops during the war, when black musicians came home and played shows in the American South, they weren't even allowed to stay at the ritzy hotels they often played at. But they were welcome to stay at Fitzgerald's Motel on Carver Street in Myrtle Beach. Fitzgerald's Hotel hosted some of the greatest names in music, such as Billie Holiday and Little Richard. Next door to the motel was a club where these same musicians could be heard playing late into the night, and locals called it Charlie's Place. Charlie's Place was one of the many stops on the famous Chitlin Circuit, a string of clubs, restaurants, and other places that hosted the musicians. Some say rock and roll was born on the Chitlin Circuit. Charlie's Place and Fitzgerald's Motel were both owned by Charlie Fitzgerald, a very successful black businessman. Charlie welcomed both black and white patrons in his club. And the white kids who came to hear the music took it back to their community, along with a dance style that they repackaged and called the shag. The integration of blacks and whites, as well as Charlie's success, angered some people. On a hot night in August 1950, a caravan of 26 cars filled with hooded men drove down Carver Street and opened fire on Charlie's Place. They kidnapped Charlie, beat him within an inch of his life, and left him for dead. No one was ever convicted for the crime. Charlie's Place and Fitzgerald's Motel kept going for a while, but Charlie was never the same. Eventually, the black and white world gave way to the civil rights movement and desegregation. Slowly, that vibrant part of town became a vestige of its bittersweet past. But the shell of Fitzgerald's Motel, which was built in 1946, is still standing. It was purchased in 2015 by the city of Myrtle Beach, with hopes of bringing back the magic of yesterday to Carver Street.